Coppers and Witwickens! This is internet personality Vangelus, and the 5th Transformers live-action film is upon us, and thanks to Casa Crespo over on TFW 2005, this is Deluxe Barricade from the first wave of Premier Edition toys. What's Premier Edition? It's where even the Deluxes come in boxes, and everything's more expensive! I'm not a fan! The box kind of fails at using all its extra space, cramming Barricade behind his own artwork and having literally no profile information on the astonishingly bare backside. I'm only grumpy because I feel like at least a fraction of the increased shelf prices for these guys is this bloated and wasteful packaging. Also, the instructions are still printed way too muddy and poorly contrasted and hard to read and not very good, and this section's too long. Barricade's lack of car company info on the box is probably because his Deluxe Toys alt mode is, according to car people who care more about this than I do, one of those modified ones that isn't quite licensed as a result. Anyway, it's a police car. Kinda like one of them saline police cars, and it's decently painted for a movie deluxe. Like, there are headlights and tail lights, red and blue signal lights up top and on the front bumper, insignias, the word police, Barricade's good old slogan. Unfortunately, this isn't a perfect match to the actual car featured in The Last Night, but thank goodness it at least hits most of its major color bases given the increased cost. The downer here is, well, he's dark blue now for the most part. A very, very dark blue. But damn it, I want my movie Barricade to be black and white with a little bit of bronze. Oh look, I've become a movie G1er. Barricade rolls pretty well, even though I cannot get his front fender areas to always tab together 100%. I think the forearms underneath have to tab in only some of the way and not all of the way. I don't know, you gotta mess with him. But all his accessories can store here. 2 on the bottom in their robot mode positions, and 1 on the back. His Gatling gun thing can unfurl and tab securely onto the rear window. Legit, I kinda hope 8 cannons transform up out of his trunk in the actual film. Also legit, I kind of hope Barricade says anything and doesn't just get horrifically body murdered in the movie. Barricade's transformation is a solidly adequate conversion, fairly straightforward with a few cool ideas, reminding me of several of the nicer entries in the Age of Extinction line. The only tricky bits are the panel arrangements for the big car roof shell piece, and the fact that the single click of Butterfly's shoulder motion is imperative for getting him back into car mode. When you see it, when you feel it, when you hear it, you'll understand. Unfortunately, the big hood chest piece doesn't actually click lock into place when it folds down, and darn if that wouldn't have made for a great transformation finale instead of his backpack double tabbing together a little haphazardly. Barricade's a stocky and nefarious car robot, still bearing a few signature Barricade details like his grille chest, front wheel shoulder spires, and those little inward spikes on the inner sides of his feet. But man, he has gotten a whole lot more normal. I like this updated design a lot, but it comes with a price. Barricade's face remains spooky and four-eyed in the way I like, but all his spiky head stuff is gone. He looks bald. Those 4 eyes are properly picked out in red paint, and while he doesn't have many other new paint apps, Barricade does use a fairly varied color layout to avoid looking straight up bland. He is kind of messy looking though, mostly due to the very unwelcome brighter beige plastic parts. He does have a most delightful detail in his fist sculpts, which bear reverse lettered "Protect and Serve" knuckle dusters that make me smile. Like, they're made so you don't see the words coming for you, those words are just left imprinted in your face. Barricade's got a trio of accessories, and 2 of them are actually mounted on his thighs. A pistol and beat stick give him ranged and melee weaponry, and the stick can actually be held Tonfa style too, if you prefer. Both weapons can also plug onto his forearms as well. The 3rd accessory is the big Gatling cannon bracelet, which can tab into and wrap around either of Barricade's forearms via their greebly underjunk. And if you rotate things just right, you can get Barricade to still hold on to a gun or beat stick in the same hand as the forearm that's got the big Gatling cannon bracelet wrapped around it. Now, the elephant in the room is that huge turtle shell of car mode on his back. It's kinda ugly. I wish it folded up more, especially at the toy's increased cost. However, intentional or not, the piece has a saving grace in the fact that it can be easily popped off its hinge, and if you want, used as a riot shield. There are 2 methods I've seen. One involves using the beat stick as a handle, and I'm not a big fan of this. It's the least secure, relying on a very haphazard connection between the stick and the roof, and then that connection going into the hand. the former hinge connection can actually very solidly plug into the bottom of Barricade's fist hole. And I am way into fan moding a shield this way. It's got a Hello Carbot charm to it that goes a long way in making me further endeared to the figure. And Barricade looks way better without the turtle shell. The upshot of Barricade's head and most of his upper body not really moving through transformation is that his head is on a pretty good ball joint. It can look left, it can look right, it can tilt a little bit in both directions. He can even look up a touch. He's got too much robo jowl to look down, but I'm still pretty pleased with this. His shoulders are on forward, backward, outward, double hingy stuff. It's two different joints is what I'm saying, and then these things can flap around. I wish these things had like a soft detent point at a cool angle, because if you bump them, you know, this happens. It's nice that you can pose them around as to your aesthetic pleasure. I just wish there was an intended stopping point. There is an intended bicep swivel. Also, he can tree pose almost. He's kind of like a droopy tree, especially if you fold these things back, then they're not in the way at all. His elbows are a single joint that goes around about 90 degrees, and friggin' dude has wrist swivels. Happy day. Sadly, friggin' dude doesn't have a waist swivel. Sigh. And the bummer of this is that, like, this is all one piece, right? Also, this doesn't really lock in all that well, so it'll get bumped up a lot. All this junk tabs into his butt from, like, above his waist to below his waist. And I feel like if this stuff didn't tab in there, maybe there would have been a waist joint, and if this stuff tabbed in up here, maybe it would have folded up some more. This backpack is the root cause, man. Anyway, there's this transformation joint I mentioned before, the butterfly joint. It's actually usable in robot mode. Going forward with it means you're gonna pop this thing up. And if you don't care, then you can get a good click forward out of this. If you go farther than this, the joint is able to go all the way over here for whatever reason, but then, you know, you're gonna have chest problems. The more important one, though, is actually the direction it goes for transformation back to car mode. If you click it back once, you get this really cool, like, shoulders back, calm and ready kind of posture that I think looks super damn cool. So he doesn't have a waist joint, so dynamic stuff is a little bit limited, but then, like, with that shoulder joint, and then these hips I'm about to talk about, he's really good at sleek, deadly-looking, calm postures, because the hips are on ball socket joints. They can kick forward and whatever, they can go, if you don't have accessories in them getting in the way, they can go a full Van Damme. But the ball socket joint they're on, before we go to the thigh, this thing can move around a little bit in an in and out horizontal axis. So this stuff, coupled with this, can make this dude look so cool when he's just standing there glowering at things. Anyway, there is a thigh swivel, and that's also what the weapons are connected to. There is a knee joint, it bends about 90 degrees, and then the feet have got ankle hinges from transformation stuff. It's not terribly useful because it's not terribly tight, and the bummer of this is the thing that is his heel is on this weird double joint, and it doesn't really lock into anything except for maybe like wedging this plate up into the tire. That means this thing can get knocked out of alignment pretty easy, and he'll sometimes fall over if those heels are not quite in the right place. So he is a decently posable figure. Way more posable than he looked in pictures. Man, a waist joint would have finished this guy off so well, because he's a little stocky dude, and really posable little stocky dudes are kind of one of my jams, especially with robots. And I'm saying he's little and stocky because, yo, check it out, here he is with his kind of wave mate. It's Age of Extinction Bumblebee Deluxe, except it's the better version called Stinger, who should not have died and should have been in this next movie. Look at this duo, man. This would have been so cool. Would have been so cool. Anyway, that's how tall he looks next to, like, there's one of these that's not very painted in yellow in the wave with him. It looks fine. The car modes look fine together. This all looks fine together. He's got enough width and thick to get away with being a little bit shorter. Trans5mer's Deluxe Barricade is a solid movie deluxe toy. Deluxe. Unfortunately, a lot of his good points are hugely overshadowed by the overpriced specter of the Premier Edition label. Like, if you're in Canada, I cannot in any way tell you this dude's worth $30 plus tax. Even on a recent sale where he went down to like $22 or $23 plus tax, bang for your buck better not matter to you if you drop that much on this dude. And it's a shame, because he brings a solid modern movie toy game to the table. Both modes are flawed, but fine. The articulation is a double-edged sword of wasteless, ankleless dynamic limitation coupled with unexpectedly deep shoulder and hip motion for calmer postures. The accessories are generally a joy, and the Riot Shield fan mode fights a solid battle against the otherwise unpleasant turtle shell of Car Roof. I like this toy! But man, unless you're getting it for under 20 American dollars, I cannot tell you that you should just go out and pick one up. I feel so conflicted, like a villainous space robot who turns into a human police car. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and many continued thanks to Casa Crespo over on TFW 2005 for sending this figure my way. You've put a smile on the Barricade fanboy inside of me. Because until I see the Masterpiece movie version, this is probably the best Barricade figure that's ever been made.